Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Beyond the Standard podcast. I'm Kaviru and I'm here with Shakti. So, before moving forward, let me introduce myself. I'm Kaviru and I'm a second year information systems undergraduate at University of Colombo School of Computing. So, my research interests are basically focusing on computer vision, natural language processing, and education. So, Shakti.
Yeah, so I'm Shakti Surya and I'm also an undergraduate, a third year undergraduate of IIT. And about my research interests, uh, I generally like artificial intelligence, not specifically to computer vision or natural language. It's both, it's everything related to artificial intelligence. And yeah, so that's about it. So
I think moving forward, we have to tell the audience what we are
Yeah.
going to discuss through our podcast because this is the first episode. And if you are to continue our our journey, your journey with us, so let's talk about what we will be doing in this podcast. So the first thing would be we will be doing research
yeah,
paperwork.
so
tools,
we
right?
are mostly focusing on the research
Yeah.
side of things, and we have some segments that we have already planned, and one of them is research, like discussing research papers,
And
which is like a new thing. uh, and also we have some arrangements to invite guest speakers,
yeah.
and what
And
we
both
focus on,
and both from the industry and also researchers who are in our undergraduate years or
Undergraduates,
maybe
yeah.
postgraduate researchers, so they can share their experience when it comes to doing their researches with us. And
So why we are inviting undergraduates, you may ask, like,
Yeah.
one may have problem.
yeah, I mean
Who are
there are
undergraduates?
and there are professors and
Yeah,
doctors who are
professors, doctors, yeah.
very experienced, who have very much experience in those related field, but we will have them as our mentors, but we
Yeah.
want to invite young researchers to our podcast because the way actually they see the world
Yeah, so
is compared to those professors is completely different because
and also
yeah.
the professors, they may have like forgotten how they get into researchers. So they are like, they have done several research, but for undergraduates they have done few. So they know what are the challenges they face. So as undergraduates, what are the challenges they face, like when they are publishing the research, when they are writing the research, when they are collecting data sets. So many challenges come in their way.
Yeah, I think one of the main reasons is the focus of our podcast, generative AI and
Yeah.
artificial intelligence, because people see artificial intelligence, people know what is artificial intelligence, but they really don't know what is behind.
Yeah.
That's why we want to focus on research, because research is what actually led these GPTs like
Yeah.
the ChatGPT and Gemini and all these image models that you see in our day-to-day life
Yeah.
to a reality. So we want to go behind the scene and discuss those papers. There are a lot of papers that are related to the papers like CNNs and even the transform model. All that we want to go through all that and give you an understanding how that actually affected the field of artificial intelligence.
Yeah. So since 2010, which was like the beginning of the artificial intelligence, which is beginning of the machine learning. So since then we have come a long way, and now we have like models that can speak like humans, think like humans,
Yeah.
for most of the tasks. And yeah, it's not the end. It's not the end for AI. AI isn't like evolved enough for AGI.
Yeah, I mean I personally believe that we are in the beginning of the beginning
Yeah.
of AI revolution. That is also one of the things mentioned in a recent Google developers event. So and also I mean when you think about 2010, when we were in 2010, we could actually imagine 5 years ahead and 2015. How would 2015 look like? How will 2015 look like? But now we really can't imagine
Yeah,
how
exactly.
everything will be changed in 2020, 2030.
2030, yeah.
Yeah, that's a completely different scenario.
Who would have expected like a ChatGPT to evolve such a long way,
Yeah,
from
yeah.
GPT-1, GPT-2
Yeah.
to GPT-3, which was a huge jump.
And now GPT-4 and
GPT-4 and
there are some news that GPT-5 is also releasing in the next year. I mean, we watched Iron Man in 2010 and we saw how Iron Man came home and did this, that is home and all that.
Yeah.
But
So-
now it's actually a reality, right? So I think that is one of the main reasons you should watch our podcast and involved in this area of machine learning. I mean, there are different industries that actually affected generative AI, affected our lives because of this generative AI. I think we both worked on a research related to healthcare industry.
Healthcare,
Can
yeah.
you elaborate on that? Because
Yeah.
I think you were involved in that
Yeah.
more than me.
Yeah.
In that
So
part.
healthcare was a field that we never thought we would get into, but we had an idea
Yeah.
for an app, and we did some research on like how we can solve that particular issue, in particular gap in the market,
Yeah.
particular problem in the market. So with that, we get into healthcare industry.
So I
But
think
yeah,
doing that research, we realized how hard it
Yeah.
was to start doing a research, and
Exactly.
that is one of the main things you can actually get from our podcast as well, because we want to help you to do better research than us.
Yeah.
Because we will talk about that
Yeah.
in
We'll talk about our
that-
research later in the
yeah.
video.
Yeah.
Later in the podcast, if you are just listening.
Yeah.
So when it comes to healthcare industry, since the introduction of CNN, computer vision,
Yeah, when it comes to analyzing those brain images, brain tumors identifications,
MRI scan
all that.
images, 3D MRI scans, and X-ray images.
Yeah.
And
That-
since then we can like predict where will a cancer occur. Even before like any symptoms come out, that has like saved many lives.
I think it actually it didn't just save life, it actually changed the timeline. I
Yeah.
think because in 2010 2000, between those years, people had to wait to get those results and doctors have to identify those, and
Yeah.
it was a long process. But now when you put that MRI scan into a model, you can get an outcome in just in second.
Yeah, in seconds you can get, and
Yeah.
even a doctor can review it really easily.
Yeah.
And another thing with the generative AI models, now we can like have personalized medicines, like analyze
Yeah.
analyze results and give personalized feedback to us based on the reports, which are like there are like several of those kind of applications that we have seen built
Yeah.
by undergraduates and our friends, colleagues.
I mean, they are not the state of the art at the
Yeah.
moment, but I mean, in 10 years, who knows?
Who knows? Yeah,
Yeah.
anything can happen.
Yeah. I think one of the main areas other than healthcare is education.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, there are my one of my research interests is actually education, and I want to focus on that area and how generative AI and how these chatbots and how personalized education, personalized learning, that is one of the main things, is helping students to become better versions of themselves.
One of the good examples for like personalized learning and AI used well for education purposes is Coursera.
Yeah.
Can you like
use,
share? Yeah.
So I personally use Coursera whenever I want to learn something new. So
And yeah, you bought me one too.
yeah,
Thank
so,
you for that. Yeah.
yeah. So in the beginning, it was going to YouTube, and you can see videos, and there are different content creators, maybe teachers talking. But now in Coursera, it's the same thing. You can watch the same course, but there is a personalized chatbot there for you. I mean, you can use that chatbot to interact and learn something actually new from
Exactly.
that one as well.
you
Because
like- yeah.
it's like talking back and forward with the teacher himself,
Exactly,
or
yeah.
something like that.
If you like don't understand something, you can just ask the chatbot without like rewinding the course.
Yeah.
If you are taking notes, you can just take a summary and save it.
Yeah.
And you can refer back to it.
Actually, that's what I did during this last semester exams, because I had a subject called System Analysis Design, and it had about 1,000 slides, and I actually have not attended many of the lectures. So
Yeah.
what I did was I uploaded it to the Gemini model and got a 18-page long note, and I printed it out and I used the pen and annotated it. I think
Yeah.
I did really well
Yeah.
in that one, because it really helped me during that time. And
Exactly.
other than that, when it comes to school student, I think my research is going to be based on that, because I want to focus on how the cognition skills changed during these past couple of years because of generative AI. I mean, I'm not saying that generative AI is bad for students.
Yeah.
It's a very good area, but I think maybe teachers, maybe parents, maybe students themselves, they have to manage how they are using it, because it won't destroy the innovation, but it will, I think it have an effect on cognition.
All right.
I really see that when it comes to our younger generations. I'm not an expert in that area, but when you actually think about it, there's a small gap
Yeah.
in that
So
area. I mean, I
in that
have seen
case, yeah.
I have seen students who are in grade 11, grade 10 using who use generative AI chatbots like OpenAI Gemini, sorry, OpenAI ChatGPT and Google Gemini to create presentations, create documents. I mean, when we were in that level, when we were doing O levels, we used to go to Google and search that
Yeah.
topic and read those articles, then summarize it,
Yeah.
and then create the presentation.
We came together and
Yeah,
brainstorm our
yeah.
ideas, and then came across with like a good idea, and then go forward.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I kind of disagree with what you're saying. So yeah, let's take it for another episode.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
yeah, that's a huge topic, and
Yeah.
we have to talk about it because it's what is going to change the future.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like a big topic,
yeah,
not for today. So let's keep it for another episode. So other than that, I think IoT
Yeah.
and what we imagined as our child in our childhood as the AI. What is the pinnacle of AI? What technology can achieve?
yeah,
Most of the things they have come true, right?
yeah,
Through smart homes and smart like wearable health, all from all those things. I think it has come really far, and I think as you said, sorry about the interruption. So we had a small technical issue. One of our lights went off. So let's continue from
Yeah.
where we left off. So about IoT, which is Internet of Things, and which has powered a lot of smart things like smart homes,
And wearable devices.
exactly.
Yeah.
So what in our childhood, what we thought as like the pinnacle of technology, what we saw in
sci-fi movies, yeah.
movies like Iron Man,
Yeah.
in those things like controlling your home through voice,
And,
controlling your home through gestures,
and
That
and
was
even
like-
vehicles
Yeah.
that come in that
Yeah.
comes to you in
Sure.
the supermarket. Yeah.
Supermarket, yeah.
So that's
That
a
is
reality. Yeah, that's a reality now. I
That's-
think
yeah.
that's because of the IoTs. Because in when it comes to machine learning, we need billions of data points to train these models, and the easiest way actually to get these points without major interruptions is using IoT devices, because
Yeah.
they can stream the real time, the actual data points to our models. And when it comes to IoTs, I mean, there are significant improvements in the internet around the globe, and most of the places, even in Sri Lanka, now has that access, because now we can actually gather data all across the country. And I mean, when it comes to smart devices, we thought we talked about 2010 a lot during
Yeah.
this podcast, so let's go back to 2010.
All right.
What's the smartest thing that you had in your house?
I think it's my phone,
Yeah,
and it was like a flippable phone, which has like small numbers which
exactly.
we can click.
Yeah, that's the
Nothing fancy.
smartest thing that we had. But
And
now
I think it was like in that time too, that was like a rarity. Like
Yeah.
there were phones like small phones, but flippable phones, that was like a magic.
I mean, I can actually remember the first time I used a touch phone.
Exactly, yeah.
That's a completely different
First time
experience. Yeah.
one of our family members got a touch phone to the home.
And then the Android, that's a huge leap when it comes to those things. I mean, all this is because of improvements in areas like chip industry, because that's a huge area. We will talk about that in another episode, because
Okay.
how Nvidia, how AMD, how these silicon chips
Exactly,
changed the actual game. It changed the whole world. I
Yeah.
mean, there are wars forming around Taiwan because of these chips, these silicon chips. So that's another episode. I think we can discuss
we
that
can, like-
in another episode, because that's
That's a big topic. Yeah.
another huge domain that we can cover during our podcast. So I mean, you can see that we are gathering we are getting these things into our minds when we are going through the podcast. So we will talk about these things, because these are the areas that we want to focus on when going forward in our episodes, because like we said in the beginning, we want to focus on the research, because everything that's happening is happening because of this research. I think we can also talk about content creation when it comes to this, because
Exactly.
what we are doing here right now is content creation, and we are recording in a place. We have some background noises, but when it comes to you, when you actually hear it, you won't actually hear these background noises because we plan to use some AI enhancements. These models have developed that far. They have that
Exactly.
huge improvements. I mean, I recently used the Canon of Pro model. They have so many. It has a really good image generator. I mean, I also have used the Google Image FX and
Yeah.
DALI.
Yeah.
But when it comes to
Google's
content,
image one was like really good. Yeah.
yeah. But when it comes to content creation, now that because of that Canon image models, they are fine tuned to content creation itself. I mean, we use content. When it comes to content creation, we use to generate SEO optimized content and blog posts, even post captions using generative AI. I think
Yeah.
that is one of the areas that we plan to do with the standard as well going forward. I mean, that is a huge area that we want to contribute to the society when it comes to a standard itself. So I think we can again talk about our research, what we did in the
Yeah.
healthcare industry.
I think it's a
that's
good time to
yeah.
talk about our research.
Yeah.
So, before getting to the research, let's talk about like what the problem we tackled.
And
So-
let's talk about how we actually got to do a research in the first place.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting
Yeah,
story
that's an
I
interesting
think a lot of people don't get that kind of opportunities in there. I mean, I was the first year undergraduate and you were second
Yeah,
year.
I was second year. Yeah.
I mean, in that period, you really don't get to experience that kind of interactions. I mean, we'll talk about that. But we had the opportunity to talk with doctors in related fields in Australia during
Yeah.
that. We had one-on-one meetings with those people. Let's talk about that because
Yeah. So getting into the research was like a complete random thing for us.
yeah.
So we went to a lot of hackathons. We went to a lot of hackathons that we have to build, with that we have to code, that we have to ideate. But we came across a different kind of a hackathon,
Yeah.
which was like write a research paper and do a research.
Yeah, actually, that research conference was held
Yeah,
recently, and one
recently.
of my
Yeah.
friends went to
From UCSC,
yeah,
right?
from UCSC, one of our senior batch members, where they went to and presented their research. They actually won the competition. I mean, I mean, their research was had that wow factor, but I mean, we as beginners, we tried to do a lot of things. I think that is what we want to share with you. If you are an research enthusiast, you need to actually listen to this story specifically.
Exactly.
Yeah, let's go with that.
So that, like I said, it was like completely random thing for us. Like getting into that specific hackathon, registering in that specific hackathon, and
Yeah.
once we put forward our idea, we got finalized, and we were like one of the top 30 teams from all around the world.
Yeah.
And we got the chance to write the research paper, and that we did actually.
And we really faced a lot of
Yeah.
issues and conflicts and problems
Yeah.
during that process as well. We'll
Exactly,
talk about
like-
that one because that is one of the areas a young researcher should actually know about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we had some resource people, but we really did not understand what we had to do at that moment, right?
Exactly. So at the time, we had gone to a lot of meetups, and we have talked to a lot of industry experts
Yeah.
about our idea, and we have fine-tuned our idea based on their insights and their feedback. And I think idea-wise, we were in a stable phase, but for a research, I don't think we were in a good place.
Yeah, I think
But-
we were actually
Bit behind, right? Like other competitors.
Yeah.
But I think it's luck that I read one of the
Yeah.
one of the
papers that actually
newsletters.
inspired.
Yeah, one
inspired
of the
our-
newsletters
Yeah.
that I got from Microsoft Startups Founders Hub, and I have never read one of those. That was the first time I read that, and there was this article about a concept called raft, and they have linked a research paper of raft as well with it. And raft was basically retrieval augmented fine tuning, which is like fine tuning your LLM before like ragging, like retrieving the information through that LLM. And we thought that was like the thing we were missing for our idea to come through.
Yeah, because
And
we were doing the research related to healthcare, and we wanted to
it to
we
be
want
like
to reduce
transparent, yeah.
and reduce the hallucination of our
Exactly.
models.
That was like the main problem
Yeah,
that industry experts like asked us
mention.
to focus on, and I think draft was that.
Yeah,
And but about the challenges we faced, I think the main one was there was lack of resources. Only that research paper at the time was the only resource that we had, and
and I
there
think we
was
did not. I think we didn't have the data set actually we need. I mean, we had some
exactly, yeah,
data that we could use to fine tune and test our models,
yeah,
but when it comes to healthcare industry, that's the main
main thing, yeah,
issue that you face because
yeah.
the health data is not actually publicly available and it's very private. And yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah, actually, dataset was like a main issue we had. So we collected datasets from different like reputable sources, I think,
yeah,
like Red Cross and St. John's,
yeah,
and yeah. So then the next challenge we came up was like implementation. So for implementation, there was like only one research paper, and the only framework that we have like uh, that have focused on that research paper was the Llama Index,
yeah.
and they had like this script that we can run in order to generate the data set for the fine tuning of the LLM based on the facts that mentioned in the research paper. And
And I think when it comes to that research paper itself, writing that was a huge issue.
yeah,
Was
writing that was
yeah,
also a
that was a
new
huge
challenge.
challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we haven't actually written anything at that point. I mean, we have written some blogs
Yeah.
and some articles like that, but this is a completely different domain. And actually, I met with one of my senior undergraduates, and now he's graduated and he currently works at, I think, National Institute of
Mhm.
in Singapore,
All
something
right.
like that.
Yeah.
So we actually sit down, and I actually sit down with him and ask about how to do this, and we only had about 3 or 4 days left. So
Yeah.
yeah, so he said the easiest thing is to just follow up this research and then implement it for a next round. And but we actually
Yeah,
wrote it.
we wrote it, and we uh, asked our mentor, who was a professor in a Australian university,
Yeah.
and he actually reviewed it and gave us a really like
Yeah.
helpful feedback. And I don't know, he has read every word by word, and he have
Yeah,
even
yeah.
corrected like synonyms and
Yeah.
all.
I mean, that is a completely different experience when it comes to compared to participating in a
Exactly.
competition or something like an hackathon, compared to getting a
Exactly.
review from a professor, and now you have to rewrite it accordingly.
Yeah.
That's a completely different scenario for us at even right now. That's a completely
Yeah.
different situation
And
for
also
us.
like on at that time we had known only to write articles,
Yeah, yeah.
and writing a research paper which was like very formal and very straightforward,
And
that
even reading research papers,
Yeah, yeah.
that was a completely different thing back then. I mean,
Yeah.
I currently do reading. I like to print those papers and have it in my bag whenever I had a time.
Yeah, I also borrowed some from you as well.
Yeah.
And
Now
that
that's
habit,
now that has become a habit,
yeah,
like you said.
exactly.
Yeah.
That habit
But-
came through that experience.
Yeah.
Without that experience, I don't think I will ever read research papers this much.
I mean, that is what we want to actually give you out of this
Exactly.
podcast and out of our Standard Labs
Yeah.
program. We will talk about that program in another episode because that is something actually we should talk about in our next episode.
Yeah.
I think because
How like researching can help undergraduates, that should
Yeah.
be our next episode. And I think going forward we can like tackle most of the challenges that you may have been facing with the rapid growth of AI.
I mean,
And
you are definitely going to face that challenges, and generative AI will help you, but you still need some actual guidance from a person who have conducted these researches and actually have written a paper.
yeah,
We are not saying we are the expert on that area.
We never claim that we are experts.
Yeah,
but
we have some idea about it, and we know now how to get you connected with the people.
And also
who
we have
actually
some connections who
we
have
built
done.
during that last year.
Yeah.
We built so many connections related to people who actually do these researches,
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
something absolutely valuable when you compare other things that we learned. Building those connections was one of the main things. I think
One of the most valuable things, yeah.
that we did during last year. And
yeah, so if you are new to AI, this is the best time to get into AI.
yeah,
This is the, like you said, this is the beginning of the AI.
Yeah.
So if you don't know any researchers, any resources to like learn AI, I think the best place is Coursera or like some such kind of platform. If you have money, if you are willing to invest
I
in
think
it.
deep learning also has some great
Deep learning AI.
deep learning AI
That
and
if you want to, and NG, yeah. So if you want to keep up with the trends, keep up with the frameworks, keep up with the new things that come across, I think that's a great place if you want to like learn hands-on with the new frameworks. I think Crew AI,
yeah,
the founder of Crew AI, he has done a session and he has done a small course, and I think that's like one of the best courses that I ever had.
and I think it's really important that you read as well.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't know where to start, you can start with some basic algorithms.
Yeah.
And then move forward into some maybe regression, do some basic statistics.
Yeah.
That kind of things you have to get started. But I really think you should actually start read. I mean, watching a course is, you can learn a lot, but by implementing a paper, maybe going through that paper, doing the research, doing the reading itself, I think that opens a completely different doors when it comes to learning in that area.
Yeah.
Because everything is experimental, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So
I think,
I think
with that we can wrap up
that's
our
it for I guess.
yeah, we can wrap the first episode of our podcast. And
This is like our first time, and there may have been some mistakes that we have done.
I mean, of course there are so many mistakes.
There are so many mistakes. Yeah.
But yeah, I think
Apologies for that.
I think moving forward you can discover this area if you are new, and if you are an intermediate, if you already have some experience, feel free to share with us, feel free to talk to us, feel free to ask that whether you want to actually come to this podcast, because that is all this is about. If you are a researcher, if you are a young researcher and you are watching this podcast, please
Exactly. Contact us.
come to this podcast and share your experience. That is what we want. And
Even
also
yeah.
we will also focus on doing some one-on-one interview sessions with tech industry leaders as well, because AI and tech that's the same thing. It's
Yeah.
not two different areas right now, because
Exactly.
it used to be because refrigerators, fridges, they didn't have any artificial intelligence back then.
Yeah.
But now today it's the same thing.
Exactly.
You have AI in everything. So we will have that talk with those people as well when moving forward. But yeah, I think with that we can wrap up this episode.
So
And
one final advice from my side.
yeah,
Don't be afraid to do a research, and you might fail at first, but keep trying.
yeah, of course.
And if your first research didn't get accepted, make it as a learning opportunity and do your next research.
Yeah,
And yeah,
always keep learning. That's the
always keep learning.
That's the only way to succeed in this
Yeah.
area, because everything is changing.
Everything is changing and it's happening so rapidly.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's it for the pod. And yeah, thank you everyone for listening, and see you again in another pod.